Hi, I'm Matt, and this is Technique Zone, Lesson 1 from issue 21 of UKE magazine. It's about bending strings. What is string bending and why would you want to do it? String bending is simply bending the string from one note to another. You'd use it in instrumentals and solos. It's not everyone's cup of tea. Okay, it's not perhaps a traditional ukulele method, but if you're having fun, experimenting, it livens things up and sounds pretty good. This is just an example of some bending in use in a little improvisation. There are all sorts of different bends, but we're just going to look at half bends and full bends today. A half bend is where you start at one note and go to another, which is one fret higher than your original position. A full bend is the same, but going 2 frets higher with your note. So a half bend is like this, and a full bend is like this. So what you're actually doing there is going from this position on the 7th fret to the 8th fret note. So we hear that here. So you can hear that you're starting on the 7th and you're ending up on the equivalent note to the 8th. With a full bend, it's a little bit harder because you need more finger strength, but you're going up from the 7th fret note to the 9th fret note. When you're learning this, if you're wondering when to stop, it's quite a good idea to play those notes beforehand. So this is where you're starting on the 7th. This is where you're going to finish up on the 8th in the case of a half bend. So you play that over a few times. It'll give you a reference of where to stop. So that 8th fret note is where you want to finish. If you go a bit too far, or not quite far enough, often doesn't matter in the context of a solo. But you can just keep pushing until you get to that target note. So what are you doing with your fingers when you're doing string bends? Your picking finger simply plays the note before the bend, so it just picks and releases. With your fretting hand, you can use the number of fingers that feels most comfortable to you. So it's possible to bend with one finger, but it's often a good idea to employ 2 fingers to give you some extra leverage. So in this case I'm using 2 fingers, one behind the other. So in this case, when I'm using the 7th fret, my middle finger is on the 7th fret and my first finger is on the 6th fret, and it just gives me a bit extra leverage to push with. If you find it really difficult, you can even employ 3 fingers. So you've got your fingers lined up there on the 7th, 6th and 5th. So just do a bit of experimentation and find out what works for you. When you're doing string bends, your fingers will come into contact with other strings. So in this case, I'm bending using the E string, but my fingertips are going to touch the C string while I'm bending. That doesn't matter because it's not going to make a sound on that C string, but it can cause a little bit of a problem depending on how your fingers are shaped as you do the bend. What you're trying to do is to get your bending fingers making contact with that C string so that they are above your fingernails are above the string. So basically a clean bend will basically mute that C string with your fingertips as you bend. The only problem is if you get your fingers too straight down onto the fingerboard, your fingernails will hit that C string. And they're actually under the string there. Again, not a real problem, but just slightly more comfortable to have your fingertips muting the C string. Rather than hitting the C string and the C string riding over your fingertips. Another consideration is which direction do you bend? Now, you can't actually bend the note downwards. It's always going higher because you're creating more tension with a string bend, but the direction of travel can be either up or it can be down. Has the same effect. What I would usually say as a rule of thumb is that if you're bending on the E or the A string, you bend the strings towards yourself because you've got more fingerboard for your fingers to slide along. So in this case the A string and the C string, I'm pushing up towards myself. On the C string or the G string, I'm going to push downwards just because it then gives more fingerboard for your finger to travel down. You can do it the other way around if you want. You can push downwards on the E string, but you can find that you run out of fingerboard and you can ride off the edge like this. So it's basically E and A, push towards yourself, G and C, push down towards the floor. There are lots of different types of bending, but one which is quite simple to do if you've mastered the half bend or the full bend that we've discussed is a pre-bend. That just means that you're starting at the higher note, relaxing the string so that it goes down to the original note. So if you remember in the half bend, we started here and the target note was here, like this. Now the pre-bend, you're basically staying in the holding position and then picking the string again and letting it relax. So instead of going from the 7th to the 8th fret in this example, you're going from the 8th to the 7th. So you can hear that in this example. And it's commonly used with half bends, then a pre-bend. So you do your half bend going upwards, then you pick the string again, so pick the string for the half bend, keep this position and then pick again and allow your fingers to relax and return to their original position. I've added those extra notes there just as an example of how you might use it. So that was Technique Zone Lesson 1 from issue 21 of Uke magazine. If you've got the magazine, obviously you'll have a full pictorial and text guide to this exercise as well, but I wanted to show you what it sounds like and how you might then use it in your own playing. So just going back to that example at the beginning again.